I'm not sure how much stranger this can get. To be the particular person that I am, in this particular place, at this particular moment. Now, who I am is an American, and the reason that that connects to this particular moment in time is it is November 6th, 2018. Right now, polls are beginning to close in my country for midterm elections. On our channel we did a video about this about a month ago about why those elections are important. To summarize it, it's going to be a referendum on Donald Trump. It's going to be the country deciding if they like the way that he leads or they don't. So it's a very important moment in time. On both sides, people are saying it's one of the most important elections in a generation. And it's going to determine the direction of the country, one way or another, for a very long time. Now, the particular place that I am right at this moment is a place that I did not expect to be. And I'm not sure if it seems apt or incredibly jarring. Because where I am right now, yeah, behind me you can see Red Square, St. Basil's Cathedral just behind me there, beautiful building by the way, and just over there, the Kremlin. I did not come here to be here on the American election day. Just a moment, gonna wait for a street cleaner to go by. No, I came here for a conference. I was sent here by my university in Prague. Complete coincidence that it happens to be on a day that's very meaningful for me and my country. To be in the other country that right now has a very strange, symbiotic rivalry relationship with my country. And that somehow, one way or another, comes to mind when you think of American elections. My thoughts are going in so many different directions. There's so many different ways to react to this strange intersection of events and moments in time. I mean, I think one of the first things that you realize when you come to a place that has a certain symbol in your mind that means something metaphorically, or it means something to where you come from specifically. It's when you come to visit a place that was always in your mind as a symbol, you realize that it's just a real place. It's a place with bricks. People are walking around, most of them tourists, but a lot of Russians who are walking home at the end of the day. They're shopping. Very few people here would connect this place to what is happening many thousands of miles away in my country. People are just living their lives. That's it. That's what you realize anywhere you go to, that life goes on. It's just another place with people, and we all have that in common wherever we come from. Whatever that place means to someone else, it's just where we live, and that's very true looking around here. That being said, it's hard to avoid the fact that, yeah, just over there it seems there was a massive, there's a bunch of grandstands over there. Looks like it must have been a massive parade. I can't really figure out what for, except I see a lot of dates around that seem to refer to World War II, so I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that it was a large military parade recently on Red Square. Doesn't seem like much of a leap, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. And me particular being here, I can't help thinking that even though no one around here is thinking about American elections or the the trend towards globalization of sovereign countries' democracies, let's say the internationalization of data, of opinion, of influence. The one thing I can't avoid thinking being here is that besides me, maybe one other person who's watching the TV and has it tuned to American news and polling results right now might be the gentleman right beyond that tower. I don't actually know if that's where Putin has his office, but I think it's very likely that right now I'm a few hundred meters from Vladimir Putin. And at this point, I don't think there's any disagreement that Russia was involved in the American presidential elections. They've been a bit quieter this time around, but the leadership of Russia knows which direction they want the American government to go. They know who they want to be in charge. They know what they're ready to do to make that happen. They know what they want to get out of it. And they're willing to go much farther than any of us thought 2 years ago. And now, maybe again in 6 months, a year and a half, we'll be looking back, wondering how we didn't see the signs in this election and being surprised again at how far they're ready to go. It's a really strange time to be here. This election in one country, very far away from where I am, an election that is going to affect my daily life only slightly more than it will affect the daily lives of Russians, Czechs, Chinese, Indians, because I don't live in the US anymore. But this is something that I think many Americans don't fully appreciate, and that is how much the American elections are watched, considered, weighed, and worried over by the rest of the world, one way or another. Being in Prague probably several times a week, I have conversations with my colleagues and office mates about intricate details of the Trump administration, about the most recent scandal, about what's going to happen next, about where this is going. I think many Americans, even though at the same time there's an overinflated sense of being the center of the world, somehow that usually doesn't lead to an understanding of how much the way that Americans live their lives and choose their government and direct their policy influences the rest of the world to a highly disproportionate degree. And if I manage to get this video out today while the election is still going on, I think that's something that I want anyone who sees this to think about. You're not just voting for yourself or even your country. You're voting for the direction that the world is going to lean. I don't say the US anymore directs the way that the world is going. There's definitely an increasing weight on the other side of the scale. But American policy will influence the lives of people all around the world. And the question is, if we can parse whether or not the policy that we're moving towards is one of division and hate and isolation, of conflict, of arrogance, or if it's one of openness, of cooperation, of mutual prosperity, of compassion. That's a question that you shouldn't get caught up just in how it's going to influence your country. It's going to influence the world. It's going to influence the Russians who are walking around me right now. Yeah. So I'm going to be following the results tonight. I'm not going to be live tweeting them or live Instagramming them or anything like that. I'm going to have to go to bed before any real results are out about the direction that my country has decided to take after following the last 2 years. My conference starts tomorrow morning. It's held in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel just off of Red Square. Yes, that Ritz-Carlton Hotel. The paradoxes will not end. I swear I did not come here at this time as some kind of perverted pilgrimage or something. This is all coincidental. I just realized today that my 3-day conference will be held in a hotel that is probably the only hotel in Moscow that Americans know by name. So my battery died on Red Square, so I had to come back to my room to finish up this video. Just as well I was rambling anyway. My final thoughts, I think, would be for Americans to get out and vote. I'm going to try to get this video out as quickly as possible, and there will still be time for that message maybe to make an impact on at least one person. I think the mistake that we often make, not only in the States but everywhere, is not voting because we don't think that one vote will make a difference. And that's probably true. This time I feel a little bit of a difference though, and I think no matter where that's coming from, it's a good thing to not vote because you think it will change the outcome, but to vote because you want to demonstrate what you believe in. And I don't care which side that is, I don't care what you believe in, but we have to vote based on what we want to stand by. We have to plant a flag and demonstrate what we really think, and then let democracy do its thing, and that's the key. The other thing that I would specifically encourage Americans on this day is to vote, because at this moment in time, your vote has a incredibly disproportionate impact on the rest of the world. And that's something I think we forget very easily, and that is not part of the conversation usually in the States, but it's really true, and that's demonstrated by the fact of how closely the rest of the world watches our elections, and believe me, they're watching this one. So they can't vote, you can. You're not just voting for yourself or your country, you're representing billions of people, quite literally, who will be affected by the decisions of the American government, which is chosen ostensibly by you. For non-Americans, the thought that I want to leave you with is, in this increasingly globalized and, let's face it, increasingly aggressive and conflict-filled world, I think we need to find clearer ways to separate our opinions about people from the actions and policies of their governments. And I say that as people looking at me as an American and me looking at Russians, for one example. I've met a lot of great people here in my few hours here. People are nice to me, and I'm going to meet more nice, kind Russian people here. And at the same time, I don't want to overlook or have that excuse or even influence in any way how I feel about the actions of the Russian government vis-a-vis my own country. So we need to think more clearly, I need to think more clearly about how to make sure that I'm not letting the policies of some governments leak into my opinions of those people. And maybe you have some examples. I'm sure all of you can think of a specific country that has caused problems for your country, and that it's tempting to think of all citizens of that country in a particular frame of reference. And we can't do that. That would really be allowing ourselves to be pulled by the nose in the direction of conflict and hatred and fighting, and that's exactly what we have to avoid doing for our own survival at this point. So these are the thoughts that come to my mind being in Moscow on the day of American elections. And we'll see tomorrow if the world has changed a little bit in one direction or another.